Love isn't always simple, and passion often comes at a price. Welcome to Intrigue Romance, where secrets, betrayal, and forbidden desires collide. Tonight, we take you into a story you won't forget, where love is never what it seems. Ethan had just finished his sophomore year of college and was excited to spend the summer back home. After months of studying and late-night cramming sessions, he longed for the comfort of his own room, his dad's hearty barbecue dinners, and a break from the hustle of campus life. His father, Jack, had remarried a year ago to a woman named Claire. Though Ethan was initially hesitant about having a stepmother, he had to admit Claire had a warm, welcoming personality. She was always kind, making an effort to include him in family activities, though Ethan still kept a polite but cautious distance. Returning home, Ethan noticed things were a little different. His dad seemed busier than ever, often caught up with work and rarely around for family dinners. Claire, on the other hand, appeared more relaxed, greeting Ethan with a wide smile when he walked through the door. She had redecorated the house slightly, adding modern touches to the living room and rearranging furniture, making it feel less like the home Ethan had grown up in. He didn't mind the changes, but he felt a bit like an outsider in what was supposed to be his own house. A week into his summer break, Ethan was sitting in the kitchen eating a sandwich when Claire walked in with a hesitant look on her face. She poured herself a glass of iced tea and sat across from him at the table. "Ethan, can I ask you something?" she said, her voice soft but serious. Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Sure. What's up?" Claire clasped her hands together, her eyes fixed on the glass in front of her. "It's about your dad. Lately, I've been feeling like we're drifting apart. He's been so busy with work, and I don't know how to bring us back to where we used to be. I was wondering if you could help me figure out how to reconnect with him." Ethan was surprised. He had never expected Claire to open up to him like this. He thought for a moment, chewing over her words. "You want my advice on Dad?" he asked, slightly amused. Claire nodded. "Yes. I know it might be a strange thing to ask, but you've known him your whole life. I feel like I'm missing something, some part of him that you understand better than I do." Ethan leaned back in his chair, considering her request. "Well, Dad's always been a workaholic, but he loves spending time outdoors. When I was a kid, we used to go fishing all the time. It was his way of unwinding. Maybe you could plan a fishing trip or something. He'd probably appreciate that." Claire's face lit up. "That's a great idea. I've never been fishing before, but I'm willing to try if it means spending time with him." Over the next few days, Ethan and Claire worked together to plan the perfect fishing trip. They researched local fishing spots, rented a small boat, and gathered supplies. Claire even convinced Ethan to come along, saying it would be a fun way for the three of them to bond. At first, Ethan was hesitant, but he eventually agreed, thinking it might be nice to spend some time with his dad and Claire. The morning of the trip, Ethan woke up early to the smell of coffee brewing and the sound of Claire humming in the kitchen. She was packing sandwiches and snacks for the day, her enthusiasm contagious. Jack walked in a few minutes later, looking groggy but intrigued. "What's all this?" he asked, gesturing to the cooler and fishing gear piled by the door. Claire smiled brightly. "We're going fishing. Ethan and I planned it as a surprise. I thought it would be a nice way for us to spend some time together." Jack raised an eyebrow at Ethan, who shrugged. "It was her idea," Ethan said, grinning. Jack chuckled. "Well, I can't say no to that. Let me grab my hat." The drive to the lake was filled with light-hearted chatter. Claire asked Ethan about college, listening intently as he talked about his classes and friends. Jack joined in occasionally, sharing stories from his own college days. By the time they arrived, the atmosphere felt warm and relaxed, as if the tension that had been lingering in the house had melted away. At the lake, Ethan showed Claire how to bait a hook, patiently explaining the basics of fishing. She was a quick learner, though she shrieked every time she accidentally touched the worm. Jack watched them with a smile, clearly enjoying the sight of his son and wife getting along. As the hours passed, they fell into an easy rhythm, casting their lines and chatting about everything from childhood memories to future plans. At one point, Claire managed to catch her first fish, a small but feisty bass. She let out a triumphant cheer, holding it up for Jack and Ethan to see. Jack laughed and snapped a photo with his phone, joking that they'd have to frame it. Ethan couldn't help but smile. It was nice to see his dad so relaxed and happy. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, they packed up their gear and headed back to the car. On the drive home, Jack turned to Claire and said, "Thank you for today. I didn't realize how much I needed this." Claire reached over and squeezed his hand. "Me too. I'm glad we could do this together." Over the next few weeks, the fishing trip became a turning point for their family. Jack made an effort to spend more time at home, setting aside his work to focus on the people who mattered most. Claire continued to involve Ethan in family activities, and he began to see her not just as a stepmother, but as someone who genuinely cared about him and his dad. By the end of the summer, Ethan felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced in a long time. The house no longer felt unfamiliar or distant. It felt like home.